Welcome to Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Evangelical Alliance Ireland. I'm Nick Park, and all this week I'm taking us through some attributes that we need to develop to build a solid foundation for 2026 to be the best year in our lives yet. We were talking last week about the foundation of who we spend our time with, spending time with God, with family, with real friends, with church, and even with people that you maybe don't feel like you need to spend time with. But this week we're talking about building some attributes or characteristics into our lives. Things that maybe at first don't come naturally to us, and we have to really practice them, just as you practice learning a new skill or a new sport or a new language. But the more we practice, the more it becomes second nature to us until it becomes part of who we are. You know, I remember talking to a lady in Drogheda who came originally from Nigeria and came and practiced trained as a solicitor, practiced and became a solicitor, qualified as a solicitor here in Ireland, is a solicitor today. And as part of her work, in order to qualify as a solicitor, she had to learn to speak Irish, which was a totally new thing for her. But she said something that really struck me. She said, speaking Irish, it's not just something I have to do to qualify. She said, it's now part of who I am. And I loved that. I thought here's, something that you have to practice doing at first, then becomes part of who you are. And all of us, I guess, are like that. As a kid, I had to learn how to read. It was something I had to practice. It didn't come naturally to me. And yet, once I learned how to read, I can't imagine life without reading. I love reading. I'm a reader. I'm an author. It's who I am. And by practicing something continually, we develop it so much as a habit that it becomes an attribute of who we are. Well, today I want to talk, we've talked about integrity and servant leadership. Well, today I want to talk about emotional sensitivity. Because God has created us with emotions. Now, some people, they fly on their emotions alone. They're just driven by their emotions, and they're like a roller coaster, up one day, down the next, everything else. You never quite know who you're going to get with them. You can't really count on people like that when they're just totally emotion driven. But other people are afraid of their emotions, and they become like, they do everything logically, and they believe the right things and say the right things, but somehow it never connects with your heart. And so somehow it never really makes an impact on your life, those people, because they're a bit of a cold fish, because there's no emotional grounding there. So we've got to avoid being driven by our emotions, but we also can't afford to run away from our emotions. We need to be sensitive to our emotions. And when we're sensitive to our own emotions, we're going to be able to be sensitive to other people's emotions as well. Because sometimes people are causing problems, and you can help them come through that. But sometimes just saying, let's deal with this logically, stop getting so excited and emotional. Sometimes you need to listen. Why are they emotional? Why is this thing sparking that off with them? And by being more sensitive to people's emotions and why they're getting emotional about things, we can actually bring them through to a much better place. And I'm convinced that we can only be sensitive to other people's emotions when we learn to be sensitive to our emotions. You see, emotions are not just some worldly thing that get in the way of following Jesus. God created us with emotions. It's part of our soul, our mind, emotions, and our will. And so God has created us as human beings that we are emotional creatures. There are things that make us angry. There are things that make us rejoice. There are things that frustrate us. There are things that depress us. And we need to understand that and be in tune with that so that we don't allow ourselves just to be driven by emotions into doing stupid things or things that are going to be self-destructive. But neither do we become so detached from our emotions that we can't have any warmth or reach out and understand and help and embrace hurting people. And so I would encourage you to develop emotional sensitivity. When you are feeling angry about something, say, why am I feeling angry? Do I really have a reason to feel angry? Is this reminding me of something maybe that happened once before that caused me a lot of problems? Is that why I'm getting angry over this? And try to get more grounded in your own emotional feelings, not to be driven by them, to be able to have control and master your emotions, but also to recognize that they are there and allow God to speak to you through your emotions. Because, God delights in our worship. Worship is not just some cold mental calculation. Worship is something that comes from the heart, and emotion is part of any genuine worship that we bring to God. In your prayer life, in your worship, in your devotional time with God, don't be afraid to be emotional, and don't be afraid to ask God to speak to you through your emotions and to help you to understand your emotions and to be able to reach out to other people who are going through emotional seasons in their life as well. May God bless you today, and do join us again tomorrow for another Take 5, your 5-minute inspirational message from Evangelical Alliance Ireland.